What's up, guys? It's Rob here, and today we need to talk about Facebook stock because Facebook, or Meta as some people call them, has been demolished today. It just got destroyed. Mark Zuckerberg, especially, his net worth got demolished. We're going to look at that. We're going to look at what's been causing this crash, as well as what might be going on with Facebook or Meta platforms in the future. So let's start off taking a look at the chart and just showing you guys what the heck happened. So, first of all, you can see the massive crash for yourself. It happened over the course of just a few minutes during the earnings call that Facebook was going through, and they had some not so good news. Their earnings weren't actually that bad for this quarter, right? If you look at their earnings, they actually had higher earnings per share than all of the past quarters this year. So not bad this quarter, right? But their forward-looking projections were really horrible, and you can see on the chart that they're actually at a 52-week low all the way down here. You might not have even noticed this bar. You might have thought they were somewhere up here. No, they're all the way down in the depths of the lowest prices they've ever been at for the course of this year. So it's crazy to see just how far they've fallen in a single day, considering how large of a market cap they have. It's really scary to see that there are absolutely no buyers stepping in, right? As soon as some people hit the sell button with some big orders, there's no liquidity and it just falls almost $100. Really scary. I mean, that's just the kind of market we're in, right? The markets are looking a little frothy, a little fearful, and stocks are reacting to that. So we're going to start off talking about Mark. So Zuckerberg, the headline is, loses $29 billion in a day. Now, this is absolutely devastating for him, right? If you actually look at the list of the world's most wealthy people, you can see that Zuckerberg is no longer just a couple of tabs away, right? You have to scroll all the way down. You have to go past this ad to find Mark Zuckerberg. He doesn't like that, right? You can see he's down $29 billion or 26% of his net worth in a day. That's crazy stuff when you're a billionaire. Down to $84 billion, and it's unbelievable. I mean, he's probably looking at this chart and scrolling down to himself, and he has to go past an ad to see where he is. It's absolutely crazy. Now, another honorable mention of people losing money is Jeff Bezos, 11.6 billion or 6.6%. Just wanted to point that out there, that Jeff is losing quite a bit as well. But this is absolutely devastating for Mark, right? He has lost so much money today, more money than pretty much everyone who's going to be watching this video will ever make in their entire lives combined. It's crazy stuff, most likely, right? So one more thing before we start talking about Meta platforms, I would ask that you please subscribe to the channel, because not only has Mark Zuckerberg's wealth taken a hit, so has the channel's growth, right? During this this tumultuous time in the stock market, not too many people are watching stock market videos. So feel free to subscribe if you're out there, if you're watching, that'd be much appreciated. So one of the things that really scared me a lot about this crash in Facebook stock was how large of a market cap they had, right? We've already kind of touched on that. But the thing is, they're not actually trading at that poor of a PE yet, right? Obviously, people are pricing in bad things in the future, but you can see that their price to earnings ratio is currently 16.96. So it's not like they had a horrible earnings call this time. They're actually doing pretty decently, especially at these values. It's making them look, at the time at least, like they're a pretty good value company at these earnings rates, right? Compared to some of the other larger market cap stocks. You can take a peek at Google. Let's try to type that in correctly. So if you take a peek at Google, they're at a 27 price to earnings ratio. So we will be comparing Facebook to Google in just a second, right? Facebook and Google have been diverging for not too long, mostly just today. And some people are pointing to Apple as the reason why, right? So we're going to take a look at that, but you can actually see their charts right here. And you'll notice that Facebook is this white line, and for the most part, they tend to trade pretty similarly. But over the past couple of months, Facebook has been taking a dive, and Google has been continuing to make new highs. And we'll actually take a look at the charts on TD Ameritrade as well. You'll see Facebook over the past year, it's all the way down here at 52-week lows, and Google just yesterday was making 52-week highs. Now, why is this, right? Both of these businesses are advertisers. That's their primary business. But Facebook's apps rely almost entirely on Google and Apple for distribution. So when Apple changed its privacy policy, limiting the ability of app developers to target users, Facebook was stripped of its most important asset, right? So that was not good at all for Facebook. And you can actually see that because of this change, Facebook says that in 2022, because of this Apple iOS privacy change, that will result in $10 billion of revenue being lost this year. So crazy stuff. Facebook is projecting that in 2022, they're going to be losing $10 billion of revenue because of this Apple iOS change. And that in addition to slowing growth, is kind of what has some stockholders on the fence about Facebook, right? A lot of stockholders are pretty worried about Facebook, but there is, fortunately, a potential direction that they could be headed in that could help them out, right? But before we talk about that, we are going to talk about some of the downgrades that they've gotten, right? Meta stock has been downgraded by 4 analysts as their shares are tanking. So the downgrades actually haven't been that bad, right? They've been downgraded for the most part to prices that are still above where they're currently trading. So one of the downgrades was from 385 to 284. Obviously, they're trading around 230 right now. One was from 323 to 290. And another was from 380 to 230. So that was actually the worst one, right? That's the only one that actually prices them below where they're currently trading. And another one was from 403 to 356. So all in all, there are still a bunch of analysts that cover Facebook stock. And sure, this just happened today. That Facebook dropped. But we'll probably have to wait a little bit to see more analysts putting their input in. However, as of right now, Facebook, if you look at all the analysts, still has 49 buy recommendations, 11 hold recommendations, 2 sell recommendations, and the average price target is $340. But obviously, we're going to need to give some of those analysts a little bit of time to rethink things and update their rankings, because this is a massive change to what's happening at Facebook, right? Now that they are expecting so much less revenue because of these privacy changes, it's a pretty scary future for them. And it's not the worst case scenario, right? This would be the worst case scenario if they had nothing else going on, right? If their business was purely focused on Facebook and Instagram and advertising, then this wouldn't be looking so good. Now, obviously, that's the majority of their business, right? That's why they have such a large market cap at Facebook, why they're still around $600 billion market cap, mostly because of the advertising. However, they have been changing into Meta recently, right? And that's where the future of Facebook really lies, I think. I think that it would be wise for them to really focus on Meta. And it looks like Mark agrees, right? Because if you look, Mark Zuckerberg's metaverse business lost more than $10 billion last year, and the losses keep growing, right? So that doesn't sound good, but that actually means that they are investing quite a bit into this metaverse business if they're spending and losing $10 billion, considering the fact that a lot of people actually are buying these Oculus headsets that they're selling, and that they are certainly bringing in some revenue. The fact that they lost $10 billion means they're spending quite a bit trying to grow this business and trying to research it and flesh it out. And I think overall that this business is probably the future of where Facebook lies. Thus, their name changed from Facebook to Meta, right? They're not even going by Facebook anymore. They like to go by Meta platforms. And I think that Mark realizes that as long as they're kind of under the thumb of Google and Apple and have to rely on them to use their devices to actually put out these ads, then they're never actually going to be in too good of a situation, right? They're always going to have to worry about what's going on with those companies and what those companies can do to them. In fact, Mark Zuckerberg even said in the IPO prospectus in 2012, when Facebook first went public, this is a quote from that, he said, "We are dependent on the interoperability of Facebook with popular mobile operating systems that we do not control, such as Android and iOS, and any changes in such systems that degrade our product's functionality or give preferential treatment to competitive products could adversely affect Facebook usage on mobile devices." And it looks like that is just now coming true today, right? Apple's decision to become more privacy-oriented is definitely negatively affecting Facebook's ability to target people with advertisements. So they're not looking too good in this department, right? This risk is actually coming to fruition, right? They're actually starting to lose quite a bit of money, $10 billion of revenue because of this. So we're probably going to see a situation where Facebook has to pivot pretty strongly to this meta reality and the metaverse. So that's my hope. My hope is that they can do that and do it profitably in the next couple of years, but they are currently mounting a ton of losses, right? $10 billion, and the losses keep growing. So we're probably going to see this happen over the course of years, not anytime soon. And, Facebook stock, it certainly could fall a bit further, but keep in mind that this company, if it does manage to capture the metaverse and become the primary distributor of these VR headsets, would essentially be the Apple of the metaverse, right? Instead of everyone buying iPhones from Apple, they'd be buying these headsets from Facebook. So that's something to think about. They could potentially be getting on quite a discount sometime soon, right? If they continue moving down and they continue looking better and better in terms of their metaverse future, then we could be seeing them do pretty good in the future, depending on where you buy at. So that's what I wanted to talk about with Facebook. It's a position that I will be adding to as they get cheaper and cheaper, with the hope that they'll be able to pivot from this social media space and advertising space into the metaverse. And, it's not the safest bet, right? Facebook definitely losing some traction with the advertising, but I think over the long term, we're probably moving into a more VR direction. So I'm kind of bullish on the stock at the moment, right? Even though they are declining quite a bit, that just means they're getting a little bit cheaper to buy up some cheap shares with. But once again, none of this is financial advice. I'm not making any recommendations. I'm just letting you guys know what I'm thinking about the stock and some of the news regarding Facebook or Meta platforms, whichever you prefer. And other than that, feel free to subscribe to the channel down below. It's much appreciated, and have a great day. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.